guys, welcome back. It's Josh with the Financial Advisor Car Guy. This week we're talking about the Ford Raptor once again, and maybe for a different reason than you guys have ever heard me talk about this truck before. If you think back over the last, 6 or 7 years I've owned the pickup, I have sworn up and down like this is probably my last truck. I absolutely love it. I will never get rid of it. It's going to be just a forever thing. Well, you know what? Life changes, life happens, and I got an itch. And I guess I'll preface this all with, I don't have a new truck. So, in fact, if you look right through that window, you'll still see my Raptor sitting there. So nothing has changed. But what I wanted to share with you is my adventure going down the path of what it would look like to get a different truck. So this week, well, not even this week, a couple weeks ago, I found a beautiful 2023 Shelby F-150, and it's the supercharged model, 775 horsepower, 5-liter. It's a Coyote engine with a supercharger, and it's an absolute beast. Fully loaded, all the technology you could ever want, heated, cooled seats, you name it, the entire, like every option under the sun. And it was one of those things where I wanted it. I saw it and I was like, man, pretty stinking nice truck. It looks beautiful. And so I started exploring what that would look like. And so, talking to my wife about it, she's so supportive. And she basically said, okay, here's the trick though, is I don't want an extra pickup sitting here. So you need to sell your Raptor first. So I'm like, all right, well, it's worth trying. So sorry about that. My cat was jiggling the door handle from inside the house. I thought someone was coming out into the garage, so I paused my video real quick. But anyway, she said, yeah, go ahead and explore what that looks like. Get your Raptor gone first. So I took my truck and washed it, cleaned it, detailed it, touched up a couple things. Maybe I'll post a picture of it here, but kind of along the bottom of my doors, the rocker areas, I have some bed lining. The previous owner of the truck did that, and I've never been in love with it, but it's never bugged me enough to try to remove it. Well, over time it has faded and it was kind of looking crappy. So I resprayed that so it looks brand new again. Cleaned everything. I had just gone through, I'd fixed the blend door not that long ago. I did the fluid film under the truck, so like the fender wells and everything still look really brand new and clean. The truck really presents nicely when it's shined up. So clean it, spent all day doing it, and got some really nice pictures of the truck and posted it. Well, immediately I've got a couple of people interested in it, and people are messaging me asking questions. Was this done, this done, this done? What do you think of this? How about that? Right? People ask questions. They're all tire kickers. And nobody has come and actually physically seen or driven the truck. All that to say, fast forward maybe a week, and I've got two people that are, I would say, pretty seriously interested in it. They both are trying to commit to come look at it. Both of them said, we need financing, so let us explore what that looks like. Well, interest rates are kind of high right now. They're not out of this world, but they're kind of high. Used car might cost you 6 or 7%, maybe 8% if you don't have great credit. And it just depends on the situation. And so one guy gets back to me and he says, you know what, hey, it turns out like I just can't afford the payment. Let me start again. Before I go down that path, I have the truck listed for $29,999. Now, I think when I bought it several years ago, it had 40,000 less miles, and I paid 35, maybe 34. And I'd have to look. My cat's going crazy in there, so if you hear banging around, the cat's just grabbing the door handle trying to get outside. I'd have to look, but I want to say I paid $34,500 or $35,000 for it. I have since put thousands of dollars into it. Even just routine maintenance, new tires, that's like $1,700. So I think if I were to pull up my spreadsheet on the pickup, I would say every dollar I've ever put into it, and that includes every modification, every upgrade, every repair, every maintenance, you name it, I'm probably into that truck about 45 grand. Now, I've put about 45,000 miles on it, and it really hasn't depreciated that much. I mean, again, if you think about it, I paid, we'll call it 35, and here it is 40,000 miles later. It's only depreciated down to like $30,000. Granted, I've put more money into it, maintenance and upgrades and repairs and things, but from a standalone value, it was 35,000, we'll call it 6 years ago, 30,000 today. So the depreciation is really minimal. We're talking like 12% in 6 years. That's pretty low. Obviously, I'm not going to recoup all the upgrades and maintenance and all those things, but I wouldn't expect to. That's just wear and tear. That's just use. New shocks on that truck aren't cheap. New everything else. I put new leaf springs in the back, you name it. The truck has gone front to back and back to front. It had a lot of stuff done to it. So I digress. List the truck for $30,000. This guy says, I want it, but I just can't afford the financing. The bank just won't lend me the money because it's a 2011 F-150. So the market, and this is really the moral of the story here, is the market dictates one thing, but lenders at the bank, they dictate another, and they're going to look at it and they're going to say, you know what, this is a 2011 Ford F-150. Maybe it's worth 15 grand because it's a 15-year-old F-150. But the market says, no, this is a well-maintained, fairly original, but well-maintained Ford Raptor, first generation Raptor, which is desirable with the V8 and this, that, and the other. And so the going rate for these trucks, I mean, I went on Facebook Marketplace, I went on Car Gurus, I looked on eBay. They're going anywhere from super high miles and pretty beat up in the low 20s to maybe lower miles or very tastefully modded or bone stock original with lower miles, closer to 40. So I kind of split the difference and said, I'm going to try to get 30 for mine. It's not priced wrong. There's a lot of trucks with more miles that are more money, but maybe they're a couple years newer. Or potentially, maybe they're lower miles than mine, but they haven't had the routine maintenance and the upgrades and all the things done that mine has. So it needs a bunch of maintenance. So it's priced accordingly. Maybe it's $27,000. And then there's a bunch on there that are similar condition, maybe a different color. Maybe it needs new shocks, but it already has all this other stuff done to it or whatever. And they're all priced very similarly. So I would say the average price for a Raptor is probably $25,000 to $35,000. And again, I split the difference. And I'm talking first gen Raptors. Second gen Raptors have come down enough that they are also $30,000 to $35,000. And you can find a second gen Raptor with lower miles than my truck has for about the same price I'm asking. So it's got to be the right buyer. But the second person who said they had to have it said their bank wouldn't finance them for the full amount. They would get financing for $15,000, and then they'd have to come up with the other $15,000 out of pocket. And basically they said they just couldn't do it. They just couldn't afford it. They didn't have the $15,000, or they couldn't part ways with the $15,000. They wanted to just finance the whole truck. And I don't know if it was a bank or a credit union or whoever, but they wouldn't give them $30,000 for a 15-year-old F-150. So I found that incredibly fascinating. And I don't know that that's something that I'll ever come across again or whatever. But truth is, if someone has a unique vehicle, whether it's a Ford Raptor, whether it's an Audi R8, whether it's a vintage something, the bank is going to look at Blue Book, and Blue Book doesn't take into account a lot of the desirability, the rarity, a lot of that stuff. They're stripping out all the mumbo jumbo, so to speak, and they're going to say, okay, it's a 2011 Ford F-150. Sure, it's a premium trim, but options are only worth so much. They're looking at it very black and white. And so to get financing on something that's a little more unique and specialty is rare. You have to go to a different type of lender, and you may have higher interest rates. You may have a number of things different in the situation, but in this situation, right, both these people, one of them just couldn't get the financing, the other one didn't want to come to the table with cash, and so they kind of backed off. Well, after I heard back from both of those guys, I was a little upset. I mean, it was fine. At the end of the day, I love my Raptor and I'm okay driving it until the wheels fall off. But within a couple of days of hearing back from both those guys, this Shelby pickup ended up selling, and it's fine. Here I am with my Raptor. I don't have a new truck. But the idea of this, I don't want to say better because it's not better, it's different. But this supercharged truck, very different driving experience. It still has Fox shocks. It still has a lot of that fancy stuff. It's got a lift and whatever else the Shelby outfit puts on there. But, to me, having, the 5-liter supercharged, it's going to tow my camp trailer, which you can see right here. My camp trailer is going to get towed a little bit better. It's newer, so it's not going to have quite the same creaks and squeaks and things that a 15-year-old F-150 has. And so, I kind of liked the idea of it. Part of me was talking myself into it, thinking like, I've driven this truck for a while. I wouldn't be mad getting something different or something newer. And it's still there in the back of my mind, but I'm not in any rush. I'm not running out and like finding the next thing. If another one pops up and it makes sense and maybe it's semi-local, I would consider it. And, learning about selling my Raptor, that's the other thing is, if banks aren't going to finance that much, I have no idea what a dealership would give me in trade, but I can't imagine it's any different than what a bank would finance. So if this guy's bank would only give him 15 grand, does that mean I'm only going to get 15,000 if I were to trade in the Raptor? If that's the case, I just won't do it. It would make more sense for me to keep it and give it to my son, who's not quite 14, give it to him as his first car. It'd be cheaper for me to keep it than take a beating on the trade-in value or even private party. So in my mind, I'll keep it on Facebook Marketplace at $30,000. If someone has to have it, it's for sale. You guys, so tell people, right? But I'm not in any rush to see it go. So it's totally fine if it never sells. I'm not worried about it. I just know that now it needs to go away before I can replace it with something else. And again, I'm not actively looking to replace it with something else. This Shelby pickup, I drove by it a couple of times, caught my eye, kind of wanted it, stopped and looked at it. It was incredible. Then I went online and read about it and all the things, and it's a pretty cool truck. So if you guys haven't seen those, do it. Shelby, there's a couple different generations, but I think the most current are the 21s to 25s, and they're called the Shelby F-150 Super Snakes, and they come both supercharged and naturally aspirated. The supercharged is the one I would get. I wouldn't even bother with the other one. The regular has about the same horsepower as my Raptor, but at that point it's not really an upgrade, so I wouldn't go that direction. So it would have to be the Super Snake version, and they're still super expensive. So that's the other side of it too, is I would be spending money that I really don't need to be spending right now. So that's all I got for you guys this week. I just wanted to share that situational story with you guys. Just let you know that sometimes if you have a specialty vehicle that is worth more than what Kelley Blue Book or the bank or the dealership might think it's worth, just be mindful of that, pay attention to that, and kind of have a strategy around that. I don't know. If you're looking for something like that though, I guess that's the other side of it, is if you're looking for something like this Raptor, be prepared to be told no by the bank. They're not going to finance the whole thing. Or, you might have to do it very creatively where you take out an auto loan for half of it and a personal loan for the other half or something like that. And that's crazy. I wouldn't necessarily ever recommend doing something like that. But sometimes people get creative and those are options too. But that's all I got. So thank you guys so much for watching. Appreciate it. Make sure you comment down below and let me know if you've ever had an experience like this. Or shoot, have you ever seen one of these Super Snake pickups? Pretty freaking cool. Don't confuse that with the Shelby Baja Raptor. They do make a Shelby truck that is a Raptor, and it's pretty extreme off-road. It's got the whole cage in the back of the bed with the spare tires and all the safety or the recovery equipment and all that stuff. Also a pretty cool truck. Not what I wanted. Again, I already have a Raptor. I don't need a different Raptor. If I'm going to keep a Raptor, I'm just going to keep the one I have. The Shelby upgrade was just something different. I got a wild hair. Yeah, but anyway, I digress. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Most importantly, remember, may every investment you make be a good one. Till next time.